Recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Maximum Mileage Podcast. Hotseat. Sorry, my head isn't working properly today. We haven't done one of these in ages, so very happy to be doing one again. Hopefully, people have got questions because nobody sent me any. I know, Faye, you got some, so that's good.
I've got some, yeah.
So why don't we kick off with those? Or
Okay.
has anybody come with any that are like, I want to ask?
I can get one going.
Go on,
Go
Nick.
for it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Faye, Nick, let me ask you this. If either one of you could create a social media platform that would record running activities, what would it include? What would it exclude? Now that we have some familiarity with Strava, Training Peaks, so what would you like to see? What wouldn't you like to see? Or would you want to get rid of it altogether?
Probably the last bit.
Yeah.
Or they exclude people.
Yeah.
No, I think I would exclude a lot of the algorithmic predictions and all of that bullshit, because ultimately it is all algorithms. And if there is, I say it time and again, if there's one thing that human beings are not, is algorithms. You know, things like fitness score. Who was I talking to earlier? I think it was Alex I was talking to on a one-to-one earlier. And after the weekend, no, Daniela, that's who I was talking to. After the weekend, my 5K time prediction time on Strava went down by 14 seconds after running 100K. No way am I going to run 14 seconds faster than, and it's all because the way the fitness score is calculated on Strava is by just doing more. And the more you run in one activity, the more the score attributes to you. And therefore, then the more it thinks you are fitter, and therefore it thinks you can run faster. And then now a new problem has developed, and this is why people are getting injured, in my opinion, is because Runner has now been integrated into Strava, and Runner operates off the back of people's predicted paces. So it's now giving people wild, incorrect paces based off this stupid algorithm. So that's what I would get rid of.
Okay.
Hi, Nick. Nick Richards just joined. I'm not saying hello to you again, Nick. That would be weird. So that's what I would get rid of. What would I include? I think I would. I think I'm talking probably too much a little bit about Strava here, but since it's what we kind of know from a social sort of mass platform, I think I would, if I was on the Strava development team, I'd want to be thinking about how can we include something that brings coaches more into the fold with their athletes, rather than it being, you know, everything's on Strava. Oh, we've now got to use Training Peaks as well. Maybe there's a bridge that needs to be gapped there.
What if Strava were to get rid of algorithms altogether, or just mute them a bit, or change them up a bit? Do you think the programmers there have thought about that? Yet there's a revenue loss if they do that.
Probably. Obviously, it is a business, isn't it? It's a very wealthy business now. I would like to think that the development team are constantly thinking about how they can improve the platform.
Because I'd like to go back to pre-Strava, pre-Training Peaks, and then ask you as coaches then, weren't athletes always interested in a predictive score or time for their events anyways?
Oh, 100%.
Right. Okay. So this is a way of delivering it, perhaps incorrectly, but people were always interested in, okay, I just ran this event in X time. What would my prediction be in another event, adding or subtracting some heat? People were always interested in their goal time based on what they're doing today and tomorrow, and what could happen months from now. People were always interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature of I think of human beings. We want to explore. We want to see what we're capable of, and but so with the frequency of using Runner or Strava, in saying that you've got to run more. Yeah, I think there's a way to gamify the revenue. But as coaches, was that important? Say, let's go back 15 years ago when that really wasn't available, or we had it in a very, very sloppy beta version.
Yeah, I think thinking of it from a coaching perspective, it's that piece around the human connection that Strava just doesn't have. Strava doesn't know if you've had, a shit day or a bad sleep. It might at some point. Maybe they start integrating things like metric scores into Strava, and those predictive times might become a bit smarter based on your recent sleep scores or your HRV scores or your training readiness or whatever comes from your Garmin or Coros or Sunto or whatever watch you wear. But even then, I mean, who have I been speaking to recently about sleep scores? Daniel, actually, that's you. Sleep score says 55, but actually I woke up today and I thought, I feel pretty good today. And then I look at my watch, it goes, nah, you're an arsehole. And so I just think there is always going to be that missing human element to predictive times, to algorithms, to those kind of metrics. It's always going to be missing that, because you telling me, you might have your Strava telling you that you're going to run a 20-minute 5K on Saturday, but you could then say to me, actually, I have had a really stressful few days, and things are not, I feel a bit unwell. And Strava just doesn't know this sort of stuff, and I don't think it ever could know this stuff.
I think Strava is probably the worst of the predictive models that I've seen.
Yeah.
The best that I've seen, and I don't know which of you use this, is Stride. Stride's algorithms for me have proven to be remarkably accurate, actually.
Yeah.
But they're all power based.
Yeah. And I think that's where I think there are fans of things like Stride and non-fans. I can't say I've had enough input into into looking into it, but I do know people like one of my mentors, Jason Coop, who is very kind of anti Stride because it's algorithmic based. There's the power meters in running are just, it's not the same as the torque on a pedal. We know within 0.0001 of a watt how accurate a cycling a pedal is, the crank and everything, whereas with running they're just not quite there yet. It may come from foot pressure pads at some point potentially, but I don't know. I'm going off what I've heard from other people. That's the opinion I've had on it. Thank you, Nick. Anything else, Nick? Nick G? There's a lot of Nicks on this call. Crikey.
Yeah. We should have just a Nick call. Like,
I was going to offer to change my name just to keep it simpler.
What about you, Faye? What do you think? What are your?
Well, you see, I actually pay next to no attention to any of it, if I'm honest. I don't pay for premium Strava. I think if you do, why is often my question.
I do, but I'm going to stop because the only reason I paid for premium was because the
Have money to burn.
No, because the maps are excellent. So if you
see, wait 1 minute. Wait 1 minute. And I know you think I'm, generationally behind everybody else. But anybody that uses a Sunto watch, the mapping on that is ace, and it's completely free.
Yeah, well, Garmin has now caught up. But the thing I like about Strava's maps is if you're going somewhere you've never been before, the heat map on it is brilliant.
Just like
that is really good. Yeah, but there's only like 4 people in the world that run with a Sunto watch.
I'm not one to follow the crowd, Nick. You know that.
I know that.
I just think it's interesting because you started using Strava maybe 10 years ago, and it actually was quite odd because people were stalking me on it, which was slightly strange. I moved to a new place and people kept commenting on my runs, and I was like, anyway, they ended up being friends, but it was just that slightly strange thing. And then subsequently, I became a little bit hooked on Strava segments and getting intentionally and unintentionally chasing Strava segments, which then during COVID all got taken back by other people. And and you just got multiple daily reminders that you were slower than this person now, and where have they come from, and they're taking all these segments from you. Yeah, I think I think yes, I see if you don't pay for Strava, you see an even more warped idea of like predictive distances and times and snippets of stuff. So I don't really pay much attention to that, but I do get feedback from people around certain algorithms, whether it be through their Garmin or Strava, saying that they're crap because they ran an interval slightly slower than last week and therefore they should give up running. And it can be a bit of a battle to kind of go, do you know what, it's not the be all and end all. So I think that it always has to be taken with a pinch of salt, and ultimately sometimes we need to put the technology aside and just listen to the body and go with it.
Like I was saying to you earlier, Kevin,
yeah.
I will always come back to the ultimate metric to me is, how do you feel? How did it feel? That will be always the ultimate metric. And I don't think Strava, Garmin, Sunto, none of these things can ever really understand what somebody means when they give an answer to that.
I do love Garmin's ability to tell you you're unproductive when you just finished a marathon or an ultra. That always
Yeah, I think the new Garmins have started, they don't say unproductive anymore. They say things like strained or overreaching or rubbish or something else. What's mine saying today? Oh, I just said that, and what does it say? Unproductive. That's the first time I've seen that. Oh dear. Oh well. I did just run 100k on the weekend, so that's fine.
So I guess we're in agreement that the context is always more important than the content.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, exactly.
Both are good together, but
Mhm.
there is never one metric in isolation that I will look at and go, oh, if your heart rate is 5 beats per minute higher than normal on an easy run, I don't suddenly panic. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. Let's see what it is on the next one, or your pace, or whatever it might be.
Right.
And that's why
go on.
I was going to say that's why I always love to see those comments on, particularly on your sessions on Training Peaks. Give me your feedback at the end of the week when I ask for it, because that to me is gold. Sorry, Paddy.
I was just going to say, I don't know if anyone saw, but the guy who won the Saucony 10K in London at the weekend, so ran like a phenomenal time, 29 minutes something. So his Strava 10K predicted time after uploading this run had dropped to 31 minutes. So, I mean,
Yeah.
2 minutes off his actual race time that he'd uploaded just before. But so, I mean, and I get it's difficult to have any real way of predicting it, but what would your best way of predicting it be as a coach? So you've got someone building towards a race, you want to plan their timings out, you want to plan their pacing out. What's your way of planning for that?
Why do you think I get you all to do 5K time trials?
Yeah.
Because it is time and time again. I mean, Chris, you've been with me ages now. Faye, obviously, you know, we've been working together as coach and
Yeah.
and athlete for a long time. How many times have I got you to do a 5K time trial, or just going off the basis of a recent previous B or C race and using that as a predictive time for your A race coming up? And how many times have we been pretty close?
Yeah.
It is one of the best ways to do it.
Only problem is if you hit a really good 5K run, you know your interval sessions are getting that much harder.
No, exactly.
So you celebrate briefly and then realise what's coming.
That's always the bad news after doing a 5K, a good 5K time trial.
Chris, are you sandbagging when you're doing your 5K just to protect yourself there?
I might start.
Yeah, a field test for me is time and again proven to be so accurate. And the amount of times I've had people go and do a lab test and they come out of the lab test with VO2 max results, their lactate thresholds, their predicted paces at different zones. And I'm like, I've already got that information because I've managed to get it from getting you out in the field and doing it. Not to say that, you know, those lab tests are not accurate, because really they should be the gold standard. But I mean, unfortunately, I have had quite even some of the big universities. I've had people go and do like Bath University. If you remember, I did mine. It was total dog shit. Total dog shit. The results I got were all over the place. They weren't right.
Interesting.
I broke the machine twice.
I've never done a running VO2 max test. I did a cycling one, which gave a pretty accurate result back when I was actually cycling. But I've never done the running one. I've just done the cycling one. So I have I thought that worked quite well. But again, I have got nothing to compare it to.
Is the VO2 max actually very interesting? Because I can see where I can see the lactate threshold being useful, because it can set intensity levels, so your zones effectively. But I mean, the VO2 max number is it's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? I mean, obviously bigger is better, but it's not. It doesn't feed into any particular pacing strategy, as far as I'm aware, or does it?
I haven't used it in that way. It usually tells me that somebody has a big engine, which is particularly useful for mountain ultras. Within my sort of world of coaching, but I don't use it. I'm much more interested in lactate threshold values. Specifically. So I just letting Jules in. Specifically around, for marathon training. Yeah, marathon, half marathon, etc. Cool.
Whilst we're on the topic of fitness apps and stuff and watches and all that jazz, one of my questions is from one of my runners, and I have next to no knowledge of these things, so I'm gonna put it to the floor and see if anyone has one or uses one or knows of them or anything. So one of my runners often goes out and doesn't wear a watch, or he just wears a normal watch, and wants to know what we think about the Whoop bands. Does anybody use them? How do we rate them? Are they worth the money?
I think if your goal is just general wellness tracking, great, you go for it. But if you want to use it for running metrics, it's not a running endurance sports device.
Am I right? It's just what looks like a hair tie around someone's arm.
Yeah, it's like just like a band.
Yeah.
It's like parkrun band, but
And you are tending to see them more and more on like triathletes who obviously chuck technology at training like sweets, but like, yeah, you see them a lot on triathletes at the moment. And
I think
I know I work with a few people that wear them, and it's a bit, I don't know.
I think where more people are wearing them, they're wearing them in conjunction with their Garmin watches, their Sunto watches, etc., because they're more focused on the wellness side of things. Like I believe that Aura rings
Yeah,
are very accurate when it comes to HRV.
yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
They're supposed to be really good, really, really good.
Talking of gadgets, have you seen this new sensor that Vingegaard and the Visma team are using in the Tour de France? It's basically a chest strap, but it claims to be able to measure your ventilatory thresholds, as well as all of the other heart rate and HRV stuff, and it's meant to be incredibly accurate. I saw an advert for one recently, and I was actually quite tempted to see whether because they're now making them available.
Okay, no, I haven't.
I mean, it's just another piece of kit which may or may not produce useful data.
I was going to say I'm so kind of. I've actually got a Nix biosensor being sent to me at the moment. One of the they measure your sweat rates.
Right.
So I've got one of those being sent to me for testing. I've had the core body temperature device, which was really, did it tell me if I was heat adapted or not? Again, it kind of I ultimately went by feel. So before my race on the weekend, come Tuesday last week, Wednesday was my last one. I did an hour on the treadmill in a heat suit, hat, everything, 28 degrees in the room. And I just asked myself, do I feel like I'm okay in this temperature? Yeah, was the answer. I looked at the app and it told me I was still a heat rookie. I was like, okay, cool.
and there we go again. Another confidence boosting algorithm.
Yeah, it's like, thanks very much. I've got a race that's going to be 36 degrees on the weekend, and you're telling me I'm a heat rookie still after doing hours, or weeks upon weeks of hours on, treadmills and in the bath and sauna and stuff. Yeah, again, another sensor I just don't think we need.
We like our gadgets. I think there's an unlimited space in fitness for gadgets. We want to buy something rather than invest time and patience. Like there's no promo code for proper training, but there is a promo code for anything that you can think of. And it's either the gamification or the shitification of fitness. Is just going down a place where you buy something and believe in that rather than your own, rather than the building blocks. As we've touched on it in the past, and Nick and Face touched on it in the past, where a proper training plan, and then the big pillars, sleep and recovery and nutrition. Everything else is just noise.
I can give you a nutrition code for Protein Works, but
okay, all right. Creatine.
I give you a discount code for them.
Creatine, beet juice, vitamin K.
Do you want to play a game where I'll rate supplements out of 10? Creatine 10 for everybody.
Oh, really? We should all be on creatine, because I'm not taking creatine.
I mean, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a nutrition coach. There really isn't any reason why most people shouldn't be taking, even non-athletes. There's so much good evidence coming out time and time again for creatine. It's the most studied thing on the planet, let alone supplement. I think there's more studies about creatine than anything else.
Do you cycle it? So do you do sort of 3 months on and no? You just take it all the
No.
time?
3 to 5 grams.
Doesn't lead to water retention and therefore weight gain.
That's an initial offset offshoot of taking creatine, but it dissipates very quickly, and it's not bad water retention either because it's intramuscular, which for us endurance athletes is good. That's good water retention. But that initial bloat, as some people like to think it is, doesn't last very long.
Is there an optimum time to take creatine? Like before exercise, after exercise, or just any time?
Nope.
I think you're supposed to just take it every 24 hours and make sure because you've got to buffer it into your system. Like you can't just, it's not useful if you just take 5 grams every couple days or something. You've got to, it takes like a month to ramp it up.
Yeah.
And then you've got to keep it at that level. And the studies all are around 5 grams, but they're doing some studies that are showing for men, at least, I'm not sure about women, that you can go up to 10. I think I'm on 7.5 right now. And I've been on 7.5 for over a year. And at first, I'm a weightlifter who's trying to learn how to run under Nick. But at first there's a lot of water retention, and then after a month it kind of cleared out. But I'm up on lean body mass by, because of probably the intramuscular water, maybe a little bit, but I'm up on lean body mass by almost a kg. And I'm not a skinny guy, so like it's quite a bit of lean body mass. And I was going to ask you, Nick, about beta alanine.
8 out of 10.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
give that. Beta
My face is
alanine.
finished being itchy now, so I do it every day. So I was just wondering if it's worth it.
Yeah, the what's it called? I can't remember what the term is, but when you take beta alanine, after about 10-15 minutes, your whole body tingles. Some people really don't like it, and it is a bit weird at first, but it does go after a couple of weeks. Very much like creatine, you do need to take it regularly. You do need a loading period. That loading period does not mean you need to take lots of it to start with. You just need a period of time, because there used to be a time where nutritionists would say take 20 grams of creatine for the first 2 weeks per day, but you don't need to do that. Just 5 grams a day is fine. I think beta alanine is roughly, I think it's
3.2 grams a day is the normal thing on the side of the tin.
Yeah, I think there's newish research that says actually it depends on your body weight, your overall body weight. It's something like, I'll probably get this wrong now, but 0.03 grams per kilogram of body weight. That might be wrong. That might be completely wrong, but you get where I'm going with it. Or 0.3. Anyway, beta alanine, I do take it. The reason I take it is because it has shown to be good at buffering lactate, and it's the reason I like it over sodium bicarb, which is all the rage at the moment, is because sodium bicarb can give some people really bad stomach issues, and it's bloody expensive as well. Considering it's just baking soda, it's ridiculous how expensive it is. Beta alanine is cheap, super cheap. It's like cheaper than creatine, and creatine's already cheap. So beta alanine, yes. Nick, you mentioned beetroot juice. Yes, for the 5 days before a race. Don't be alarmed if your pee is pink and booze. But
I thought an internal bleeding the first time.
Yeah. Beetroot juice, yes. In shot form, it needs to be concentrated. There are some studies coming out around nitric oxide powders. We'll see what they're like when they come out. But yeah, BTS. There's actually the Styrker brand, STYKYR brand of gels. They actually have a gel with nitrates in, which is quite interesting. It's an interesting flavor, I'll tell you that. But yeah, there's that as well.
What about to try to say it in your language, vitamin D?
Vitamin D.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
I understand you.
Translation.
Absolutely. Do I speak Canadian now? 100%. And Faye, I know you'd be very much on board with vitamin D certainly from a female.
I've been taking vitamin D since since COVID, because I recall them saying that it was makes me laugh now, was a worthwhile vitamin to take to ward off COVID. Its phase had it 5 times, so it clearly didn't help that much, but it helps in other ways. But I have been taking it for 5 years now, along with magnesium. Again, a really beneficial supplement, especially for women. And I have also been taking creatine now probably for about 3 months. The water retention thing, I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell. So I could have, but I might not have. It depends. But
it might have just been your post-park run cake.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But I certainly, over the last month, have started to feel the benefits of taking that.
Anecdotally, what do you feel those benefits are?
Now, interestingly, the benefits for me are concentration and general like productivity. So in more of a kind of like work concept, like cognitively, I think I see improvements, because that's one of the things that I was struggling with. And I mean, it's hard to tell with training but I'd say I don't feel worse for it as a result. To say whether I've got more lean muscle mass, I'm not sure. But I'm fairly consistent weight wise, so it's hard to tell. But I think it might just be the combination of what I'm taking that seems to do the trick.
Yeah.
On the whole.
Yeah, vitamin D, I'd definitely say, and especially for us in the Northern Hemisphere who get pretty dark winters for a long time. I think I take about 3,000 in the winter, and then I drop it down to 1,000 in the summer. And I've just literally on Friday had my last blood panel results, and my vitamin D was optimal. It was absolutely spot on. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it from a supporting athletic performance point of view. Bone health, touch wood, I have not had an injury since 2020. Immunity is pretty good. I haven't been ill in quite a while. Certainly not like really ill, not man flu ill.
But you hit on a good point about I think, and we don't talk about it that much. I think in the running community, we tend to look at performance, and we don't talk enough about other things that can lead to performance. And you mentioned, cognition and brain health and brain fatigue. And this is something I think that is really underexplored, where and I think I'm guilty of this, is that when I communicate to Nick about how I'm feeling week to week or day to day in my journals, I'll talk about I feel good, feeling restful and things like that. But I think we underappreciate the amount of cognitive demand that goes into life, and then also running and whatever sporting activity that we're doing, and that's something that I think, except for a few people, maybe the pros, that they tend to really focus on having a very positive mental approach to training, playing matches, participating in races, whatever competition they are, and we don't talk enough about how to mentally rest and prepare for an event.
Yeah.
And that's something that perhaps is beyond the scope of this conversation, obviously, but it's a very, I think, a very underrated thing. And going back to, you can't measure that.
No, I agree. And I think for me, I think this has come from a personal perspective, but I think for me, and I often reference a lot of stuff back to COVID just because it impacted me quite badly. But as a result of that, part of the reason why I've worked quite hard over the last few years to work on kind of cognitive function and to be a little bit, I really struggled post-COVID with some long COVID symptoms around kind of concentration, brain fog, things like that. And anyway, as I've come through, I started to notice how, whereas before I could do a really hard training session, I could go to work, be bang on 100% for 8 hours, and then come home and be like, yeah. I was getting to the point where I was thinking I can train, and then I'd get to mid-morning and be like, I need to go to sleep. And I can't concentrate, and I'm just on my knees. And I had to try and look at ways to address that. And last year I spent a lot of time looking at my nutrition, and not just my nutrition for kind of training, but for life and day to day. And with that, supplements, but also kind of making a point of work, like listing on a daily basis, like physically, how do I feel? Mentally, how do I feel? And then listing kind of a rough outline of my nutrition and hydration for the day. And then I can track back and look at any patterns that I see, whether it's across a week, a month, a few months, and then kind of hone in on it and think, actually, this hasn't been right. What can I do to change? Or what have I changed that is good, bad, or indifferent? So for me, I think it's always important to always check in kind of with that psychological side of things, just to, because it, like you say, it comes down to everything, down to our motivation to get out the door to do a run, motivation to keep training for 6 months toward a marathon. It all comes into play, especially when we're juggling training for big events and working a busy job and families, kids, all those kinds of things. I think it's really important to, whether you just note it down for yourself or whether you want to share it with us as coaches, I think it's a really useful tool.
Yeah, I think you just touched on it there, Faye, just to kind of put a tail on that. And this is why I love working with, people like all of you, because, busy lives, jobs, kids, stuff like that going on. Because I'm there too. I've got a wife who has stage 4 cancer. We've had some shit news today. Not shit, but not great news. So, and this is why you will often hear me asking things like, how's work at the moment? How's home life at the moment? I ask those kind of questions, not just because I'm talking to another human being and want to know, but because genuinely I know that sort of stuff affects training. I know that sort of stuff affects racing. And if I know somebody's had, I think, Chris, not that long ago, you had a period of time where work was just absolutely hammering you. And that the offshoot of that had to be me as your coach adapting your training. Because I couldn't have you doing some of the sessions you would have normally been doing, for example, or the length of runs that you would normally have been doing, because I say all the time, work, in your example, that is a stress. Training is also a stress. If you put too much of that stress, even though the training stress is a good stress that we need to get to adapt and get better, it's still a stress. And if you put too much stress in your bucket, it's going to overflow and everything goes out the window. And then you get to race day and you can't race as well as you wanted to.
Yeah, no, 100%. I had played 2 months of quite long hours, getting called in at weekends, stuff like that going on. And it had a major effect on the training, sort of took a back seat. And when I did do it, it wasn't 100% because I was either tired or thinking about the work side. But saying, luckily, it's quite settled back down again now, so it's which is quite nice. And life's back in balance.
Yeah,
I think I like that. Oh, hello everyone. Sorry,
Jules, hello.
I'm
No.
Hiya.
Hey, Jill.
Excuse my hair. I've just noticed my hair. I've been for a run and there's no gel in it, so sorry about that.
Same
Yeah,
here.
I was going to say, I think I spoke to Faye either yesterday or this morning about this, that there's so much, sometimes there is just so much on my plate, with family and other commitments, social commitments, work commitments, self-employed commitments. There's people pulling at me from all angles, and to just defer my running decisions to someone else has been amazing. To know that, yeah, I haven't got to think about that, and I haven't got to. All I have to do is just go out and enjoy the session that I've been given. And I think there's a couple of times, Faye, where I've said like I can't do that, and I've skipped that, and I've moved that, and I've done this, and I understand it's adaptable, but I think that's the whole point is, like you say, being open with you guys to say that there is other stuff going on, because it is important. I know if work have slammed me, I haven't eaten well enough, I'm not hydrated. There's no point trying to do a hard session if I've had 2 glasses of water all day, 1 wee and a sandwich this morning. There's no point. I know I should be doing better, and I will do better, but some days are just like that, and you just have to be honest with yourself and honest with the people around you, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would just add to that, and I know, I think with everything going on with my wife, I've always had that. The last few years, I've had that kind of maybe sometimes a different outlook on life now, where sometimes when work really is pulling at you that hard, time to piss off. Seriously, like it's not work. Life is not worth that much stress. It really isn't.
I try to think that everything in life is peaks and troughs. Work can be hard and then it can be easy, and family life can be easy, then it can be hard. And I think as long as I'm up and down on a fairly even keel, I'm okay. But if I'm staying up and I'm on high alert for something for too long that I can control, like work, or a relationship that's not working properly for whatever reason, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be anyone or anything. I'm pulled for volunteering and all sorts of things. I just have to say no. And like you say, I think the older I've gotten, I'm 40 something, 45, 46. The older I've gotten, the better at that I'm doing. I'm not trying to please everyone all the time anymore. It's just a case of no, because you're going to break me, and I'm going to be no good to anybody.
I always say you've got to put yourself first before you can look after other people. You've got to. What is it? My sister-in-law
Put your oxygen mask.
Put your oxygen mask on first. That's it. Yeah.
It's true though. It is true, because you're no use to anyone if you've burnt yourself out or.
Nope. I've been there and done it, and I won't do it again.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Faye, you came with some, didn't you?
I've got. Hang on. We've answered 2 of them. So last one I've got is just around kind of the benefits and maybe the pitfalls of kind of interval sessions, treadmill versus road. So kind of, where we can gain benefits from using a treadmill for interval sessions, and perhaps where, that differs from doing them on the road and vice versa.
Shall I go?
Yeah.
Because I've kind of gone in. I'm in both camps now. I used to be very anti treadmill.
I haven't run on a treadmill for about 2 years, so I'm not the person to speak to. I'm very familiar with them. I spent a lot of time around them for many years, and I think
from a coaching perspective, I like treadmills for people that are doing mountainous ultras that don't live anywhere near a mountain.
Yeah,
they can be super useful. In fact, who was I talking to? Alex. I was talking to her about it today. She's got a race coming up which has 5,500 meters of climb out of the start line in the first 3 miles.
Amazing.
It's literally straight up for 3 miles, and then she's got to run for 97 more miles after that. So I love treadmills for that. I love treadmills for the heat training stuff that I've just been doing within reason. To kind of an hour is good. It can be useful, obviously, if you are pinched for childcare or things like that. If your treadmill that you are using is calibrated using a tachometer, or some of the more modern treadmills auto calibrate, as long as it is calibrated to pace correctly, it can be very useful for paced sessions. So if you are running a marathon and we're looking to practice marathon pace, it can be quite useful if you need to do it. There used to be a bit of a time where, and even quite recently actually, where we thought that running on a treadmill was a very different biomechanic to running on a road. But actually, there's some good new studies out there that show that that's not actually the case. It's pretty much exactly the same. So I've become much more in the camp of treadmills in the last even just 6 months from those perspectives.
Also, yeah, they're also handy for, and I mean, you know, over the last kind of couple of weeks where we've had this really hot weather, I know I have pointed people towards using treadmills rather than going out. Depending on the time of day, if you can't get out early morning or late in the evening and your only time slot is lunchtime, you don't want to be going out in the hottest time of the day. So certainly worthwhile for things like that. And winter training as well. You know, if you don't go out, if you live somewhere dark with not many street lights, or you just don't feel safe going out, I know I would definitely, if I had a treadmill in the winter, I'd definitely use it. But yeah, I think they do have a place for sure.
Yeah, good for practicing power hiking as well if you don't have access to hills. So, you know, again, for the ultra runners out there.
Hey, Nick.
Nick. Oh, go on, Hannah. Hello.
Hey, sorry, I'm late to the party, but yeah, I just got out of a rainstorm. But just because I am very well versed in running on treadmills, and I would go months at a time not running outside and just running on a treadmill because we have a very snowy season where I live in the mountains of North Carolina. I personally do notice that just the way I strike the ground, if I am running predominantly on a treadmill and then go to running outside, it's like I feel like I'm getting my legs back, and it takes a minute. So I think definitely for people who are running a lot on the treadmill, trying to at least once a week do road running to maintain that hamstring pullback. That a treadmill, it kind of facilitates your hamstring pulling back. So if you are running a lot on a treadmill, try to at least get it out once a week so that you don't lose that muscle memory, because trying to get it back is really tough. And then when you do want to start running outside, you find yourself with a hamstring twinge and you have to do a whole bunch of physical therapy to try and get your hamstrings strong enough to handle running outside. But I wanted to ask you, Nick, specifically, just because I've read articles about it a bunch of times and have a question myself, is how do you feel about these treadmill conversion charts? Like if you are running such and such pace outside, or actually let's say you're running such and such pace on a treadmill and it converts to a much slower time outside, maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds slower outside. But if you tack up the the slant on the treadmill, then that is supposed to supposedly makes up for that. Do you think that they are a one-to-one, or is it more like you really do need to adjust the incline of the treadmill in order to make it comparable to running outside?
My understanding was that was debunked.
Was it?
Yeah, that whole 1% put the treadmill on 1% thing was debunked. What I like about putting a treadmill on something like 1.5% is reduction of mechanical load.
Oh, that makes sense, because I've heard if you have shin splints, for example, you want to lessen the load on your shins, then having that elevation can really, that incline on the treadmill can really help with that.
Yeah, there was the belief that if you put the treadmill on 1%, that it would mimic the loss of wind resistance. But that was, as far as I'm aware, that was debunked. I haven't looked at any studies. I just saw that I think that was on the USCA group. Somebody said that was debunked. But yeah, for me, I like having the treadmill on at least some sort of incline, purely just from a reduction of that load of hitting the ground.
And believe it or not, like even if you are running on a treadmill and you are really taking care of the incline and everything, when you start running outside again and you start running downhill, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just crap. So, I mean,
my treadmill has -6% on it.
Oh, nice.
But it's nothing like actually running outside. That definitely is not the same. It's good for a bit of quad conditioning, that repeated bout effect, preloading before a big ultra, but it's not the same as running outside.
I think it is definitely useful though if you want to practice nutrition and fueling in a controlled environment. Maybe you're not sure how GI is going to handle it. Having a treadmill session with fuel and doing that is definitely a good call.
I had that last week on Tuesday. I was like, mid-session toilet stop. Useful.
Yep. Been there, done that, like 4 times. So,
but yeah, no, that's my thoughts on treadmills. I used to hate them. I was in the camp of, it's not the same as running outside. And they are hard work. I think my record is like 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
On a treadmill.
I'm not mentally there. I'm really not. If I really, really had no choice, then I would. But I just no.
Nick Richards, I think you.
Yeah, I was just going to say I've done a number of 15 milers on a treadmill.
Oh my
I have a
goodness.
treadmill at home. And actually, I'd echo Hannah's point about nutrition. It just makes fueling much easier, not having to carry loads of stuff with you.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Yeah, I know you like a treadmill, don't you, Nick?
Yeah, it's funny actually because I mean I'm very happy on a treadmill, but I did a lot of training earlier on this year for the marathon on the treadmill.
You did, yeah.
And part of that is because a lot of the roads around me are quite hilly. So actually, if I want flatter terrain, I've either got the choice of running around a track, which I do sometimes, which is pretty flat, or the treadmill. So, yeah.
Yeah. Sasha, who I coach, she could stay on a treadmill for a week. She loves it. No watching anything, no nothing. She just runs. I worked my way through this the entire 5 seasons of Breaking Bad in my over the winter. So
if you go online, you can find a video of Valtteri Bottas, the F1 driver, doing a full Ironman.
Yeah.
And his whole running component was on the treadmill. He swam in his backyard and he rode on a stationary.
Wow.
Or a spin.
Sorry, Faye, you take it. I think I've got a doorbell to answer. I'll be right back.
Have you ever run on a curved treadmill?
I've tried it quite for like 5 minutes. It's quite strange.
I have one in my gym and I look at it and I'm like, I really should try that one day. But then there's always people in the gym and I'm like, I don't want to fall on my face in front of all.
I tried it when no one was around. But I do remember thinking I look nothing like they do in the videos.
Yeah.
Has anybody got any other questions they would like to bring to the table? Nick just picked a sausage dog up from the front door.
My baby. She's feeling very sorry for herself at the moment because she's come into heat for the first time. Bless her. What did I miss?
We're talking
we
about
were just
treadmills. Sorry, Faye.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, the curved treadmill. I tried one of those maybe 2 months ago at our local gym, and oh my God, weird. Not having to press any buttons was odd. You just got to lean forward to run fast and lean back to slow yourself down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're weird. They're
I
good
know,
for,
like,
I think they're good for sprints and that sort of hit type running for CrossFit, general fitness type stuff. But I would not. No way would I get somebody doing like a session or something on it. I don't think you can run on them for that long. It's just too hard. It's a bit like what are those bikes? Is it air bike?
Oh, they're just foul.
They're impossible to like do an easy ride. It's impossible.
Absolutely disgusting machines. Yeah. But that, no.
are those called assault bikes?
That's it. Thank you,
Assault
Hannah.
bikes.
Assault bikes.
That's
Yeah.
Because it's assaulting your body.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Any more questions, Faye?
No, I have asked the group, and I think, we've covered quite a lot there.
Cool. Okay. One thing I did want to cover really quickly was, I know summer is, well, I say coming, maybe been here already. For some people, it's school holidays and going to foreign countries with beaches and stuff. And the subject of looking nice on the beach has come up with a couple of people that I coach. Nobody on this call, actually. And that's fine if your training volume is low, but don't go crazy with the diets and cutting loads of calories, particularly carbohydrates, out of your diets whilst you are training for things like, half marathons, ultra marathons. That is not a sensible idea. And I speak from experience. So just wanted to put that out there because it does seem to be a subject that has come up quite a few times recently. And it can lead to quite bad problems. Fasted running, don't do it. Cutting carbs are not our enemy, they're our friend. Fuel your sessions, fuel your runs, just fuel your training, fuel your life. Food is good. Don't overdo it, but don't go crazy with it. And I speak from experience, almost recent experience, if I'm honest. I went a bit too hard on trying to slim down for South Downs Way, and I got I think I went into red, and I whacked my calories right back up. And what happened? I lost a couple of kilos, and I felt amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes we actually, as endurance runners, endurance athletes, we need to eat more to lose more, because if we aren't giving ourselves enough carbohydrates, energy, the body is very smart and it says, oh, you're not giving me enough energy, so what you are giving me, I'm going to store it as fat to be used later, and your performance goes down and you get bigger.
Do you know what? This is a really interesting one, and one I could talk about for hours. But I find living in a house where I live with a non-runner, I often find myself, I don't eat huge amounts, but I eat regularly through the day. I'm a grazer, try to graze through the day. But what I do often find is I get to the evening and I'm that person that's still hungry. Like, I'm thinking about food now. And I'm like, oh, do I need a snack before bed? And when you live with someone who's not as active and you think, they're like, for God's sake, does she ever stop eating? It can be quite easy to kind of question yourself and go, do I really need that? Do I, is that necessary? And then I think, well, actually, I did do a really hard session this morning and I've been to work and I've done X, Y, and Z. And you kind of lose track of yes, you've done a session which is completely separate to kind of your life calories. And, it does require that little bit extra to perhaps someone who isn't as physically active as you. So sometimes it can be quite tricky not to compare yourself or pull yourself in line with other people.
Yeah.
There we go.
Those hard sessions, those notes that are on Training Peaks, those hard sessions, those long runs, pay attention to them. Those fueling notes, because they are important. They are important. Don't be scared of taking a gel mid session. It might only be an hour long session, and we hear that if you're working out for any less than 90 minutes, you don't need any additional energy. Bollocks. some of the best performances in the world at the moment are coming from athletes that are hammering thousands of grams of carbohydrates per day. Okay, they're doing double the volume we're doing, but still, there's a very good argument to be making sure that you're fueling your sessions. And that was it. I just wanted to sort of put a little cautionary word out there because, those stories of little niggles and injuries and feeling unwell and things. A lot of the time when I dig into it with people I coach, we look at their volume and go, you shouldn't really be getting injured with this level of volume. None of us are elite athletes doing 120 mile, 160k weeks or whatever. And I ask the questions around, how's your sleep? How are you eating? Oh yeah, I haven't been eating very well lately. It does tend to come back to those kind of things. So Nick, going back to your point right at the start about the app, and metrics and things, and we talk about the basics. We're doing our training, we're doing our strength work, sleep, nutrition, hydration, trying to reduce the amount of stress in your life. Forget the gadgets, just look after that stuff.
Right.
That's it. We can all go home now. Cool. Hannah, you joined late. Did you any of your folks throw any questions at you? Or was it just the...
I do have an athlete who is doing a paleo-like diet with limited carbs, and we're having challenges. Well, we're having challenges trying to go into the direction like you've been talking about, of not being afraid of carbs, namely complex carbs, because she says that she has a lot of fruit, and I think it would be a good point to say to everybody that fruit is not going to cut it in terms of that being your carbs for the day. You really do need to understand the difference between complex carbs and simple carbs. And if you are following a paleo diet, maybe your fat intake is higher, your protein intake is slightly higher. Your body really thrives off of carbs, especially for endurance exercise, and to train your body to fuel itself off of fat. It's pretty much, it's a grueling process. It can be done. Elite athletes, they try to do that, and just because, I don't know, it was popular 5-10 years ago to be more.
Yeah, Chris Froome and the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Era.
But if you're just starting out and you're trying to hit 3 or 4 run sessions a week, you're not going to have quality if that's what you're doing. So, Nick, if you have any athletes that you coach who are paleo diet following or anything like that, it's basically just what you said again. But what are your thoughts?
Carbs. That's my thought.
Yeah. I wish that my athlete was on the call so she could benefit from you saying that. It's a hard conversation to have people, because her partner, for example, they're both trying to lose a little weight. They're on the road a lot because that's what their job requires. So they're trying to eat clean in restaurants. And so it's a challenge, right? And so they thought, okay, well, the best way to do this is to cut out carbs for the most part. But
yeah, unfortunately, diet culture has thrown at us over the years that carbs, sugar in particularly, is bad. And there's these idiots on, what's his name, Eddie Abiu on Instagram, telling everybody to only eat meat and eggs, the carnivore diet stuff, and that stuff is thrown at us constantly. So I do get it. I even sometimes myself, I do, after my 100 miler the other week, I had 36 gels and 12 energy drink sachets. That is a shitload of sugar. It was, I think Michaela, who's a vet at SeaWorld, she said that's the same weight as a penguin. Same amount of carbs as one of the penguins she works with.
Penguins.
After that, I did look at it and go, "Oh my god, what am I doing to myself?" But that I then did correct myself and say, "Well, I say it to you guys all the time. taking gels, having sugar, having carbohydrates in whatever form they are, ideally in simple form, simple digestible form, fine. If you're sat there watching Netflix and you're knocking back 36 gels in an evening, all right, that's a little bit different to taking gels intra-exercise where our body is crying out for fuel. Okay, you don't need to do it on your easy runs, but those longer runs, those harder sessions, total volume over across an entire training block, racing, that is the body's fuel. It's, I know it's a bad analogy, but you wouldn't drive your car without putting fuel in it. So it ain't going to work.
And it's not a problem that is just for, regular people who are trying to be athletic and run and everything. I was an intern at an Olympic distance training center, and these athletes, you think they would know better, but they were fat shaming each other and things, and they're like tiny people. It's really unfortunate, but it's not just a problem that your average runner is having. It's at every level where this kind of discussion is being had. And the best thing to do is to educate yourself about nutrition and understand what your body thrives off of, which for endurance activities is carbs, and to just cut out all the other noise surrounding that.
It is hard to do though with social media, diet culture. It is difficult to do. I tell you who's a really good example at the moment of the whole racing weight or anti-racing weight movement is Christian Blumenfeld, the Ironman Olympic world champion. The dude is a beast. He has put on something like 8 kilos.
He is not a tiny man.
He's 80 kilos now. He is a beast. Yeah. And the dude is knocking out 2:30 marathons after doing 100 miles on a bike and a 30k swim or whatever it is. I don't know about Ironman stuff. It's not my thing.
I do, and I will say, like Lionel Sanders, if you look at, I watch so much YouTube, and Lionel, I follow him, and he's like
Lionel Sanders, isn't that the KFC guy?
No,
the Colonel. Yeah,
Lionel's a proud Canadian.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, I mean, he if you watch his journey, he struggled so much with nutrition, and the guy is very slender, and he finds it very difficult to get all his calories and everything, or he just like eats crap. But Christian Blumenthal, he's quite a bit larger than Lionel, and he's got longevity and speed and endurance. I am not a triathlete, but I respect it so much.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my just my little parting messages. Don't put so much emphasis on being lighter and thinking that's going to make you race better. I mean, I think I've said to some people before, I'm 12, 14 kilos heavier than I was 5 years ago, and I'm still getting faster. So yeah, that's it.
12 kilos heavier.
Like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't really do a huge amount of strength training. And what I did was, it was that high volume body weight stuff that I'm now very anti. And yeah, I was very much of the opinion that I should be lighter. But I changed that to fueling for performance. And yes, I've gotten bigger, heavier, but body composition has stayed pretty much the same. I still hang around sort of 15 to 20% body fat, which is not super lean. I could probably be slightly leaner if I wanted to be slightly faster, but it would be slightly. It would be slightly.
And that goes back to what Kevin was saying earlier about him increasing his lean body mass. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin. It is whatever number of months or so that your weight maybe has stayed the same, but your lean body mass has shifted a little bit better.
Well, yeah, that was a creatine definitely helping, and actually vitamin D. But yeah, there was I mean, that's lifting and lifting on a strength oriented rep scheme. But yeah, I mean, Nick's trying to convince me that I can run too, so it's good. I'm buying into it.
And I would
carry that weight with you up the hill, right? So.
And I was just listening to, I don't know if you guys follow Alex Hutchison, nice a Canadian.
I know Alex, yeah.
You know Alex? Okay, good. So Alex was talking about some of the fallacies of measuring fitness by VO2 max alone. And his conclusion was basically it doesn't take into, VO2 max takes into consideration weight, but all of your weights, including your bones, rather than just lean body mass. And he wished that it could be rejigged to calculate your number based on lean body mass.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a way of getting that number, taking out your all your bones and things like that. But right now, lean body mass is a better predictor in sport than just. And he mentioned the example of a rower. So a rower could be say 100 kilograms, so 220 pounds, and a runner could be say 60 pounds. They both have the same VO2 max, but the rower is that much more heavier. So is the rower going to be, and you can't use VO2 max to predict fitness. It's just a number. It's just as a standalone number. It's nice, but you got to use it in context of something else, or two or three.
There's a good example. It's a fairly old example, but around the time of Emil Zatopek, one of the legendary marathon runners, and he had an insanely high, like 92 VO2 max score. I can't remember who it was though that beat into the Olympic marathon, who had a much less. His VO2 max was much less, like in the 60s, way less. But his running economy was mega high, whereas Zatopek's wasn't. Something like that. I'm probably getting the story.
They did the same thing with Lance Armstrong, because Lance Armstrong ran a marathon.
Yeah,
and he ran it. I mean, he ran a, for most people, fast marathon, but compared with his VO2 max, it was diabolical, because of course he had no running economy because he's a cyclist.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know Alex. He's done some good stuff around ice baths. I quite like his take on ice baths.
Yeah.
If you like doing them, fine. But if you don't have to.
Yeah, I see him running quite often in and around Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice guy.
So is Alex Hutchinson's conclusion then that the running economy was more indicative of fitness rather than VO2 max?
Exactly. Yeah. VO2. Yeah. He also talks about the mental part of running. It's just not a physical thing. There's strategy, and there's mental toughness and fortitude. There's a lot of other factors than then just pure numbers. Yeah, and I think the other example, Nick Richard mentioned Lance Armstrong, and Hancock mentioned Zapotec, but I think Derek Clayton, the Australian, had a relatively low VO2 max, but his running economy or efficiency was quite superior to others, and he did quite well.
Yeah.
Did anyone see the article about this this lady? She's broken. She's the world record holder. She's American, called Jeannie something or other. She now holds the V70 women's record for every distance from 1500 to the mile. Sorry, to the marathon. And she's been studied extensively because she set a new record in the London Marathon this year. I think she ran 3:33 in her mid-70s. And what the scientists were expecting to find was that her running economy was amazing, but actually it was pretty indifferent, because they were trying to unlock the key to why she's so fast and still so fast. And they ended up concluding that basically she's done 50 miles a week for the last 40 years.
Mhm.
And she's virtually never got injured. She's been injured once. She broke a bone in her foot when she trod on a rock.
Sure.
And that's basically been her running injury history. And so 40 years worth of cardio has just built the most incredible engine.
And that is a good advert right there for consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day on Instagram, like, how many miles a week did you train, or what was your peak week for, to get a podium at 100k? So I don't really know. I just make sure I train consistently. That's the main thing. Keep training consistently. It's so much more important than, hero workouts or any peak week. Yes, of course, we in the architecture of training, we look at progressive overload and having peak weeks and things, but nothing is more important than consistency, specificity, and because of the type of people we are, kids, jobs, busy stuff going on, we don't do this as a for a living. Adaptability, those are the three things, and accepting adaptability. So yeah, on that note, I'm going to go to bed.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. Great to see so many people on. And we'll probably not do one next month just because it's school holidays here. So I'll be fighting off my children from annoying me. We'll pick it up again in probably September, which is always a good time because it's when we're all keen and excited and ready to spend most of our time running in dark, cold weather.
Whoa, Nick, not yet. Not yet.
Have we got another heat wave coming yet?
We're in July. I'm not thinking about September or October or November or December.
Enjoy your summers.
I'm sure we've probably had it now. Cool.
Yeah,
thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Still
everyone.
raining here.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Thank Nick.
Cheers.
Cheers, Nick.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Maximum Mileage Running podcast.
You can find more out about us at maximummileagecoaching.com. If you think you need help with your running and you think that either myself or Faye could be the coach for you, then drop us an inquiry. No obligation whatsoever, and we'll have a chat with you about your running. And there's plenty of resources on the website as well. And don't forget, you can join us on the Maximum Mileage Running Podcast Facebook group. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.